This is Phil Stamper, the president of wrestling, and you're watching the 3 Count Podcast. And always remember to trust in Phil.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering the Ring. I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, and you know that because I'm on every one of these interviews. So let's go down this roster. The only person here today is the king of naps. He's the guy that you know as Q. He's the guy that's also known as JJ, but here I just want to call him Napster. Welcome, Napster.
I like to think the sidewalks keeping me off the street. The dangerous times going on. You got the Revolutionary War Part 2 going on right outside, so make sure you guys are locked and loaded. Chippy, chippy, bang, murder everything. That's all for me.
So, this is the 3 Count Presents Now Entering the Ring, which means one thing. We have a special guest for you. And that man, you may have seen him with Mick Foley. You may have seen him cause a revolution. This man is currently the GM of MCW. Give it up for Phil Stamper.
Hey, everybody.
Yay.
Woohoo. Thunderous applause. Thunderous applause.
Phil.
I know.
That's the extent of my dancing right now.
Yeah. So how are you, man?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Recovering, but I'm doing well.
So I didn't even tell you that. Like, we've been talking off air for a little bit. I didn't tell you this. 5 minutes, 10 minutes before I got on the call with you, I hear a fire truck go by or an ambulance or something, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? I look out my window, and it goes up the road next to my house, and then I see it stop, like in front of our garage, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? The neighbor, I'm confused. I thought they were moving out. Somebody else said they're moving in. Apparently, like, somebody had a heart attack over there, and so there's like 2 fire trucks, 3 ambulances, a whole bunch of police cars. I'm like, it must be a slow day in Calvert County. But
yeah.
So I'm like, let's see what happens.
Get some action. Let's go, guys. Team, go. Like, do you ever wonder, like, I know this is going to be off topic, but I don't really mind. Do you ever wonder if, like, first responders, like, when they get the call, it's been, like, a slow day, they're like, let's see who gets there first. And then, like, they all, like, radio in and just, like, get there.
From some of the first responders I know, I'm going to say yes.
I feel like it'd be like someone in the first responder is definitely like the Toretto of like the group, and he's just like, I don't have friends, I have family, and I live 1/4 mile at a time. And for those 10 seconds or less, I am free.
I have a need for speed.
So this is how it works on the show, man. It's me and JJ. We're going to ask you a bunch of questions, and then we have what we like to call the world famous 10-count questions. So my first question for you is, who is Phil Stamper?
That's me. Hi. So some people know me as the president of wrestling. I have been active in the ring for a long time, have also been now this authority figure at a number of promotions. Who knew I could make that a thing? So MCW Pro Wrestling, IWA East Coast, Legacy, SCWA, Wrestling Revolver. I'm kind of getting all over the place, which is fun. And the fact that people know me as the president of wrestling brings in a whole other level of interest that I hadn't explored before. So it's kind of neat.
Awesome. I like that. I was like, how did you get that moniker of president?
It sort of came born out of this place of, I was not just active in the ring, but I was also working behind the scenes at a number of promotions and was legitimately helping run things, whether it was directly or was just assisting in it coming together in some fashion for a number of different places. And it was very, very real that I was really helping these places come together. So it was like, well, it's like I'm the president. Like, I'm not necessarily doing all this stuff, but I know all this stuff, and all this stuff's coming together because sometimes I'm pulling it together. So it became just very, very true to life that I was the president of wrestling.
So then, as the president of wrestling, I just have to know, what has been your favorite fan interaction?
Favorite? That's a very good question. I mean, it's cool in general. Like, I think the first time I saw a fan reached out to me from like overseas, from England, and was like, "Oh yeah, I've seen a couple of your videos." I'm like, "That's kind of cool." Or when a fan walks up to you, like I think the first time I was at Revolver for Iowa, fans came up to me. But I worked in Impact taping, actually, is last December, and a fan came up to me and said, "I only came because I knew you were coming." And I did like nothing in front of the camera on that show, and so it was super cool that like, oh wow, this is really happening. Like people are interested in seeing me sometimes, I guess.
So, I guess another question I really like to ask a lot of people is, what's been your worst bump?
Ooh. I mean, I have been dropped on my head a couple of times. I'm trying to think if the one I'm thinking of was my worst. Basically I just got like drove like straight on my head. And then like the person asked for feedback on the match, so I told him how it went and my feeling about getting dropped on my head, and the person disagreed with me about it. And it's like, and then he grabbed a video of it and showed me the video, and I'm like, it's right there, bro. Like, I'm not angry with you. Like, because things happen when you wrestle. Like, you get hurt, you get injured, things happen that nobody really meant to happen, and they just happen, and you sort of roll with the punches. And he was like defending it. He was all upset that like felt like I was calling him out, and I'm like, that's not what's happening here, bro, at all. Like, you asked for feedback, I gave you feedback. At least that's the worst one in more recent memory that I can really think of. I will say, like, the person who ever has punched me the hardest, I don't know if you know who this is. There's a wrestler named Cloudy from New York. They used to be in a tag team called with Cheech, so it's Cheech and Cloudy. It was partly Cloudy with a chance of Cheech was their tag name. Cloudy stands maybe all of 5'1", and dude, I thought he hit me, and like, you see me, like, I think it was I'm supposed to be running in and he's gonna give me a forearm. I run in for this forearm and I land straight on my butt. Like, I just was like, ow.
Dang, man. That's
It
good.
happened.
That actually was going to be my next question, was what was the hardest you've ever been hit? So then, since you took that question right out of my bag, where has been your favorite place to wrestle or to be, I guess?
Ooh. Oh my gosh, that's really hard. I miss working with Pro Wrestling Revolver because it was not Pro Wrestling Revolver. I still work with Wrestling Revolver. Pro Wrestling Unplugged. And I say that because Unplugged ran out of the old ECW arena before it was renovated. So it still had like that classic sort of ECW vibe. And like, legitimately, I felt like I had like full control of the arena, and I'm running around like in every nook and cranny of the building, and associated for the first time with so many different names in wrestling. And I really began to then learn more about professional wrestling through that association. And it was just an interesting perspective. But I don't know, I try to take a lot of positives from a lot of places that I work at. I think of like the first place I worked sort of regularly was this company called XMCW, which still runs today in West Virginia, but in a very different format with very different owners. But they used to run weekly events and would draw 300 to 400 people on a weekly event. And it was amazing. And that doesn't happen anymore. And so like, I do miss it. I do miss that kind of stuff. But yeah, I try to take something very positive away from all the places I work.
Okay. I like that. I like that a lot. So, and of everybody you've met, it doesn't matter, MCW or wherever you've been, right? Who's been like the most surprising person to like interact with?
Oh, that's a good question. My brain goes to this weird place because what I have found is that sometimes I become very good friends with the people who everybody else thinks are total jerks. And for some reason, like, I'm sitting there like, I'm getting along with them. I don't think anything of it. And somebody's like, how do you get along with them? Like, they're such a-holes. And I'm like, they are? Like, and then kind of almost the flip. The person that everybody else loves. I'm like, wow, the person's a total jerk. But like, what do you do with them? And it just is. It's one of those, like, it is what it is.
I'll take that. JJ, you got some questions?
Yeah, sure. All righty. It is my turn, Mr. President. So my first question for you would be, what's the best advice you can give to up-and-coming wrestlers coming into the industry?
Wow. There's always the typical that you hear, like, oh, you need to shut up and listen. Like, there's so much you need to learn, which is very true. At the same time, that comes with a certain amount of respect that you have to give. And then people seem to forget, like, you have to give respect to get respect sometimes. And yes, there should be a general human nature of respect that's equally balanced between two people. But at the same time, like, if you're in a learning environment and you're trying to take away knowledge, like, don't give guff. Like, you're not there to correct the instructor. You should need to be willing to learn. And that learning is not going to stop just because your formal training has ended. Like, you are going to keep learning all the time. And that your time in wrestling may go beyond just what you do in a wrestling ring. I shared with you that I've run stuff behind the scenes. Kind of, if you see me like looking side to side, is because I'm actually on my computer running a live stream for Wrestling Revolver right now. That, like, I didn't know how to do that until like 6 months, not even 6 months ago. So like, I've had to learn that technology just because it keeps me a part of the company, keeps me very active with things that are going on. It helps me be an integral part to wrestling. I mean, where I'm at right now, like, hey, look, I have a green screen. Like, I'm always trying to pick up new pieces to what I can use to complement myself and what I can offer to the world of wrestling as well.
All right, my next question. Do you enjoy being a wrestler more or a manager, per se?
I enjoy being, I will say I enjoy being a wrestler more. This could be so weird because I've reffed before, I've done ring announcing, I've managed. When I'm wrestling, like, I know there's an audience and I interact with the audience, but like, I'm so focused on the match. When I ref, when I manage, I hear like every single voice in the crowd. My brain is like, I'm digesting every comment, everything that's heard. I've gotten better at the managing part to be able to break it down to, like, how do I respond? How do I interact differently than how you do it as a wrestler? Because you as a manager have to add to the voice of the match when it's appropriate. If they're in the middle of something spectacular that people should be watching inside of the ring, you shouldn't, as a manager, be like, hey, look at me. Like, no, you need to get the eyes over to the action. And so, like, I've had to sort of relearn a little bit of how to do that well as a manager. And so part of me is like, I love being a wrestler because, like, hey, then the attention has to be on me. But as a manager, like, it is just more because of I hear all the voices. It's a little bit more challenging.
Wow. That's awesome that you gave us some insight about, the managing side of the business as well. My next question for you would be, let's say we had a time machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we fast forward 5 years. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I would love to actually be working regularly with a national company. I've had those moments of, like, the one-off spots, but like a regular position. I also have a life and career outside of wrestling and acting. So there's part of me that's like, I need to do something over on this life too. Like, I don't know, like, I'm scared to death of the thought of maybe getting a PhD. But I'm at that point where it's like, I have 3 college degrees. It might be time to get the next thing, or change fields. So I'm like in this weird, like, bubble. And I thought I would actually maybe be moving into a PhD program in the fall. And then pandemic happened and it sort of got me off the path of trying to get all my application stuff together. So it's still there, but I'm just processing it more.
Man, yeah, screw this coronavirus has ruined everything.
Right?
It ruined my senior activities for high school. It ruined everything. My next question. Do you like being a baby face or a heel more, and why? Which one do you prefer?
It's funny because for a while I feel like I get booked as one or the other, like from different companies, that I'm not one thing at this place and another thing over at this other place. Like for some reason people see me like I'm a face over here, and then I only ever get booked as a face, and until I get that one random shot and I start becoming a heel, then everybody books me as a heel. It's in a way it's much easier to be a heel than it is a face. So in that way I kind of like being a face, because it is a little bit more challenging to a degree. But as a heel, like especially when I do promo work, I try to do promos that are a little bit more intelligent, that are not diminishing the challenge of the opponent, but recognizing it. And that's a whole level of promo work that is a little bit more skillful that you have to do. So you're not taking anything away. I always try to tell a story. Like there's always some focus in my promo other than the focus of what I'm talking about, so I can try to make a better story out of what's going on.
All righty. I think that's all the questions I got.
Okay.
I can think up off the top of my head, yeah.
The craziness is like you say that about like working and cutting promos and like writing stories, and like I legitimately, for our podcast listeners, I'm holding up my book that I keep all my notes in for wrestling. Like, so like I go back and I think, I know this is probably gonna say it, but we've had so many guests like on the show that like I legit like take something away from like every single interview and just put it in my notebook, and I just have like pages of notes just from everybody that's got something to say. So it's like, it's cool, like especially you get to talk to you because, you know, you, like you said, you've been in every aspect of the wrestling world. So like picking one's brain, I mean, it's a no-brainer to say. You got 3 degrees though. I'm curious, what are your studies? Like what do you have degrees in?
I have a master's in higher ed administration and counseling psychology. I have a bachelor's in mass communication and an arts and sciences associate's degree in arts and humanities, and a counseling certification.
Wow. You are one smart cookie. I am not quite that level yet.
I have moments. I legit have a 168 IQ. And that's something that, I don't know, that's a whole other weird aspect of my life in wrestling too. I'm like, everybody has that. Everybody's super intelligent. Everybody's like here.
No.
Not always.
No.
So like I just really reel it back sometimes.
That was something I learned really quick when Sicken and I were talking, and he's like, because for those who don't know, most people who are indies, we have jobs outside, right? So my career, I actually work for Kraft Heinz, so like Kraft mac and cheese and Heinz ketchup. And I told Nick, I was like, yeah, I have a master's degree in health and sports science. He's like, why are you wrestling? I was like, because it's my dream. I was like,
right.
My dream. Duh. Like,
it's physical application of the degree, like
yeah,
sport and health science in a wrestling ring.
It's
Like,
right there. That's awesome though, man. Like I really like, I know like we obviously hit it off like a few weeks ago when we talked last, and we may have done another podcast previous to this one, you know, outside the box. I don't know. It's probably gonna be there somewhere. But what has been one of your favorite things to, I guess, give back to the business?
Say that again. What's one of my favorite things to bring back to the rest?
Yeah, it's like give back. Like, you know, like everybody likes to give back to the business. Like obviously people will be like knowledge or teaching like a class or seminar, whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm. I love doing promo workshops with people. I absolutely love it. Right after the pandemic started, I've actually done a couple like one-on-one promo sessions. I was just putting it out there. And you know, yes, I do promos for wrestling, but I've also have had acting experience, so that's helped too. And what threw me by that was some of the people who came out and gave me support for doing that with people. Like Sammy Callahan tweeted out that I was a great person to help teach somebody to do promos, and I was like, and I know Sammy, and I was like, oh, I didn't think you like really cared one way or another for my promos. So it was like, okay, that's cool. Drew Gulak liked a couple of the things I put out about promo stuff too, and I was like, really? Okay, awesome. So like it's surprising to see the people who have taken away positive notes, and I'm always super appreciative of that. I love teaching in general. So like I have this sort of like repository of random submission wrestling techniques that, like, whether that's from my world in like judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu or from professional wrestling, like, and I've blended together, and I'll sometimes do technique workshops with people. And built into the promo workshops, I've also done like persona development. I've done social media workshops. And because of sort of everything that happened recently with the speaking out movement inside of professional wrestling, have been actually trying to build a, lack of better phrasing, sexual responsibility workshop specifically for the pro wrestling community. And that's weird because in my life outside of wrestling and acting, some of those entities I work for are governed by federal restrictions and laws or state requirements for things you have to teach about sexual responsibility and sexual harassment awareness and sexual assault prevention. Wrestling doesn't have those guidelines, but a lot of other industries don't either. So it's like trying to give from that world that abundance of information that in a way that makes sense, that is coherent enough and gives good resources, even though there's not necessarily good resources that a particular entity already, you know, that there's not like a national governing body of professional wrestling that says you must have these things in place and then here are your resources for when things go wrong. So trying to create it general enough that it's easily understood and gives sort of broad general resources that anybody could use.
I want to be a part of this. Like, that's awesome. I'm a huge advocate. When I was in the military, I was part of the SARC programs, the sexual assault program in the military. So yeah, if you need help, man, I'm gonna sell myself out for that. But cool. We have to move into something fun, right? So we're gonna move into the world famous 10 count questions. It's easy. We're gonna fire off 10 questions. First thought that comes to your mind. So with that being said, we're going to put on the imaginary timer. Bing! There it goes. And starting off, favorite wrestler?
Eric Embry.
Last show you binge watched?
Lucifer.
Hey. SmackDown or Raw?
Yeah. My brain went AEW. I don't know why.
Hey, it is what it is. That's your first thought. Favorite movie?
Clue.
Okay. Pepsi or Coke?
Coke.
Batman or Superman?
Superman.
Interesting.
Oh, JJ, did I offend you?
Oh, not me. No.
No, I said JJ. Look at his face.
It's because his brother Chaz is an advocate for Batman.
I love Batman too. I'm not like his level of craziness for Batman because my favorite superhero is Spider-Man. He's still the go-to superheroes, but yeah.
Right. See, you didn't ask me Spider-Man because that might have changed my answer. Like, to be very honest, very fair.
All right.
Right.
This is a brand new question. It's debuting today on this show. Hawk or animal?
Ooh, Hawk.
Hey. Favorite color?
Blue.
This would be a fun one. Top crush.
My brain went orange.
Hey, you know what? I can't wait for this. Yeah. And everybody's favorite question. Favorite curse word.
Shit.
Hey, and that's the 10 count question. This is why this man has 168 intelligence score right now. This is the man. He's a genius, man. So coming up with stuff outside the box we didn't even think about. You know, I was sitting like top crush. I was like, to me, I was like, yeah, you know, like Cindy Crawford. And you were like orange. I was like, that totally trumps my answer.
I was really like, I'm kind of thirsty, and I think is a box of Orange Crushes in the other room.
I have orange juice, so.
You know what's weird is that I have this orange like koozie. So.
I don't know if either one of you have met a wrestler yet named Chris Gatton.
No.
He's out of the Martinsburg, West Virginia area, and he normally has dark hair. And then he posted up a picture yesterday that now he has like dirty mixed blonde hair. And I was like, hey, look, it's Apple Cassidy. Because he had aviators on, and I'm like, bro. And he's like, no, it's not apple, it's banana. I'm like, all right, fine, whatever, dude. Like,
whatever floats your boat, bro.
It's right there. It's right there, bro.
I'm gonna see. Hey, Banana Cassidy, if you want to come on the show, we will more than welcome you. So,
I've been trying to get him to go to Knicks, to be honest. Like, he's like, I want to work out with other people. I'm like, go to Knicks. I don't want to work out with other people. It's a drive. I'm like, okay, I don't know what to tell you.
it's fine. We get it. So with that, Phil, can you tell our listeners where they can find you?
You can follow me on social media at PS Phenom. That's PSPHENOM on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube, Twitch. You pretty much name the social media. I have it there as PS Phenom.
Awesome. And don't you have a pro wrestling tees store as well?
No, I don't. I probably won't do pro wrestling tees, but I'm putting stuff together to get a store finally, because hey.
Yeah, because we need that president of wrestling gear. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I would wear that shirt all over. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
So I have a friend that made, like, on some of my social media, you'll see the logo. It's like a president of wrestling logo. A friend of mine made the logo. He used an image from a photo and colorized it and made it like cartoony, and then made the logo around it. The person who took the photo wants me to give them money and merch for using the likeness of the photo he took if I use the logo. So I may have to get the logo redesigned.
It happens, right? It's just a business. It's
right. It is. It totally is. We're gonna be in an age soon in professional wrestling, just because of legalities and rights and all that stuff, where you should already have like gear that looks good. We're going to be at a point where you're going to have custom music made, like non-copyrighted, your own music that's made for you, which is a whole other expense and a world that not many people in wrestling yet have gone into. But more and more as people are doing different broadcasting options and streaming options. I posted up a video the other day on YouTube. I did a live stream game on YouTube. I did Detroit Become Human. And I
love that game.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
It's an awesome game.
there's like a 2-second music clip in the background in one of the scenes, and it got flagged for a copyright. The whole video got flagged for copyright violation because of music embedded in the game. And it was and even I found a random fan made He-Man the Masters of the Universe video game. It's an amazing fan made game, and I streamed it one day, and like in 20 seconds it got flagged by Facebook for having copyright violation, because it was actually using clips from the TV show inside the game. And it's like you have to appeal it, and like I won the appeal, but at the same time it's like now it's a whole process, and then people aren't viewing, and it's a whole rigmarole. But it's happening in wrestling all the time, and as much as I do streaming with other stuff and putting out wrestling clips, I get stuff flagged all the time because like there's somebody's entrance music it's copyrighted. And so the more we can start pushing away from that and avoid that legality issue, the more things are going to get shared and seen and viewed and liked. So.
Yeah, that's insane. Actually, it's weird that you even would bring that up, because like one of my friends actually made my, so I do all my promos and stuff. Like I have a custom song for it, and like they own it, but they've given me like all the permissions to use it, like for whatever I want, just as long as it's wrestling related. And I was like, bet. So like now, like if you watch it, for those who watch this YouTube, they know Bat in the Sun. So they do superhero beatdown, and one of the theme songs is from Master Chief versus Captain America, which is called Into the War Zone, and that's actually my theme. So
cool, very cool.
To use it, so I was like, oh yes, and now I'm like, oh, okay, I might have to use this as my custom theme song now.
That works. That's awesome.
But with that being said, Bill, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Very glad to. Thank you for having me.
So this is Now Entering the Ring. Phil Snapper, the president of wrestling, for the Napster, for the Red Dog. That's it. So check out the next episode and be there or be somewhere else.
Hey guys, it's the host of the 3 Count, Chaz Evans here. Make sure to let you know that I don't run shit, I don't do shit, I just talk shit. And make sure you subscribe to our podcast. What else should you do? You should also follow us on all social medias. That's the Facebook at 3 Count Podcast, the Instagram at 3 Count Pod, and the Twitter at 3Count_pod. Also, if you like us a lot, you should definitely buy a t-shirt at prowrestlingtees.com/3countpod, and that's the number 3. Don't be an idiot and type in THREE, because you're not going to find anything. So make sure you follow us at 3 Count Pod or 3Count_pod on Twitter and buy a shirt. Be there or be somewhere else.